Yeah, do 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 do. I know I can sing, but not really happening. Righto. Good morning. Let me fix these fuzzy little bits of hair. Conscious wealth creation, shamanic wealth creation. If you don't follow your next obvious steps, you're screwed. It's true. It's very true. So this is something that I have, that I want to talk about because it's really, for those who really identify with the concept of moving between worlds and bridging worlds and multidimensionality and, you know, living according and guided by your intuition and tapping into your superconscious self and using that as a guide, and you're wanting to bring your vision to life and create this magical world for yourself, for your family, for your community, for the world. What I'm going to share today is like, it's the most important thing, and I feel like it's like the one thing that so many people aren't doing, and I understand why. The reason why people aren't following their next steps is because it's scary and it means, people think that they know better than their intuition, and it requires a level of trust that you haven't stepped into before. So when we're going for something, when we want to create something, when we're using our intuition, when we're using our feeling to, like, not our feeling actually, when we're using our intuition to guide us, our intuition will always give us the next step. It's going to be really clear what our next step is. And sometimes it's really simple, and that's why it gets ignored. Sometimes it's just like, so this morning for me, my next step was spend more time in nature. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. But my business mind wants to stay at home all day and like get things done and contact people and blah, 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 blah. But my intuition's saying to me, go outside, go to the beach, get some sun, get some salt, get some air, get some grass. And I know it's true. The truth has a resonance. And when your intuition tells you something and it gives you guidance, whether it's little, whether it's big, sometimes it's easy to like be like, but I'll do this first. I'll do what I think I need to do first, and then I'll do what my intuition tells me. And it doesn't work like that. If we're not following our next obvious steps as the next obvious thing, then what happens is we go really quickly, we spin out into like a volatile, shaky relationship with our intuition and a volatile, shaky ground with our truth. And it causes doubt, it causes confusion, and we end up doing these like mental bog laps and circles. I'm sure you can agree. And this is something that I like, if we're not following our next obvious steps, if you're not doing this, if you are getting information from your intuition and it's telling you to do something and you're not following it, you're never going to get to your vision. Or if you do get to your vision, it's going to cost you your health, your wealth, your family. Like, it's not going to be an enjoyable ride. It's not the way. It's not the way that you're really, truly, and deeply wanting to create, because that you're going to be getting that information all the time. That superconscious flow of like, here's your next step, here's what you do next. It's always there. It's always accessible. And just speaking from my experience, sometimes we feel like we know better, or we're in so much momentum of how we do things already that we kind of like push that to the side and steamroll over it. And like I said earlier, we say, I'll do that later, but we don't do it later. We never do it later. It's like the information, the intuition, the next steps are here now. They're here for you to take them. And Sometimes we want the whole picture all at once, but often all we get is just the next steps. And sometimes they kind of make sense and sometimes they kind of don't. And it's not the point that they make sense or they don't make sense. The point of getting your next steps is that when you take that next step, when you step into that, and when you build that relationship with your intuition, and you build that trust with your intuition, then the next steps after that open. The next steps after that can't open until you take the next step. So often the other thing that happens is that people are waiting for another sign, waiting for another trust. Like the intuition, that's the sign. So it's like, you know, that point when you're, the picture I get is like Indiana Jones when he has to walk across the bridge off the cliff and trust that there's stairs that he can't see, that he's walking on. And that's what intuition is like. And it like often when it's like whatever stage you're at, you're always going to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. So every level is scary. You just get more and more practiced at it. And you're never given the next steps that you can't achieve, that you cannot create. And like I said, if you don't take them, do you want to be on my video, Amanda Barry? Let me know if you accidentally pressed that or if you actually do want to come on, because I'm happy if you want to come on. Yeah, if you're not taking your next steps, then your next level can't open. You can't really access like your vision. And that's the way that a vision unfolds, is one step, the next step, the next step, and really being present with every single step that comes. And often we get intuition and we like push it to the side and we say, yeah, I don't know if that was real. And like the more we don't, you want to come on? Okay, sure. Let's. I'm up for that. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, love.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yes, thank you. How are you?
What's up? I'm good, darling. How are you?
I'm just listening to your lovely advice. That's all.
Can you relate?
Look, I've been struggling a lot with my intuition and everything lately, so I'm just looking for any sort of guidance right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. I like that. That's the reason why I jumped on, is because I've been really drilling into like next obvious steps, and I find that when I get lost and when I'm like in real confusion about, is this my intuition or is this my head, or like which is the right way, do you know, like I think that can really happen. I like reset completely. Like I'll just go somewhere and like completely reset, start from the beginning. And then the first thing that you get, like don't question it, don't second guess it, don't like, oh my gosh, but like, you know, what about this person and that person and all the other things. It's really about like just following that next step. And even if it's like tiny or even if it's crackers, I think like the reason why people get confused with their intuition is because they don't follow it. They don't take the next steps. And even if it's the wrong step, I don't think that's could ever be the wrong step. But even if it is the wrong step, taking those steps actually creates momentum, and it creates, so what you're telling your subconscious when you follow, hello, Baba, when you follow that next step, when you follow that intuition, what you're actually saying is, I'm willing, like I'm actually listening, I'm prepared to listen. And then that completely changes your relationship that you have with your intuition. Like you can do it in a day. You can literally change your relationship with your intuition in a day. If you just if it says one thing and you're like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to commit to doing that one thing today. And yeah, it makes such a big difference to like the way that we're like the capacity that we have to create. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it grows, and the more capacity you have to create.
Yeah.
What's your struggle? I hear ya.
Him and a teenager. I don't know if you remember all that time ago when we did that advanced crystal awakening course. And,
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was that did my past life healing on me, and the only way she got me back was say you're gonna have a blue-eyed boy,
And this is him.
waiting for you to come back. And I'm like, I don't have a boy, man. It snapped me out of it. Yeah, I got the messages after that for ages, and I was kind of in denial. And then I through my guides, I found out I was going to be 40 when I actually fell pregnant with Michael, and bang on the money. Bang on the money.
Wow.
I was 40, so Tegan's 11 now, and Brianna's 14 going on 15. So I've got the teenage struggle, and then the forgotten child in the middle, and then dealing with the 2-year-old at the same time. And we've moved from WA over to Victoria, and that massive change is just throwing everything out of whack. So I've even
Of course.
connecting with everything, like
Yeah. I think I think that's I think mothers with young children between the age of like 0 and 3, 3.5, it can be like, this is like, it's such a tricky phase, especially in relationship, because I want to keep it, if you don't mind, I'm going to keep it in context of what we're talking about. I think that's a very, very tricky phase, because we're going through, like, there's so much that a mother goes through in that time. There's depletion, there's like the hormonal stuff, there's body changes, there's like having to like literally put it feels like you're putting your vision on hold, and that like, how am I meant to move forward? And this is when intuition is like the most important, because it takes you out of this like very physical, grounded, like playing with my 2-year-old land, and brings you up and gives you a higher perspective of like, okay, this is how I need to go next. And I think really holding the vision, like, so for you, I'm feeling like really holding the vision of like what you're here to create, and then letting yourself rise up into that part of you, that aspect of your consciousness that is literally connected to all things through all space, through all time. I know that you know it, like you fully know it. It's just, it's not, there's nothing you need to do to deserve it. There's nothing you need to do to like own it. You just have to choose it. And it's not even choosing it all the time. It's strategically choosing it to see what the next obvious step is, and then taking the next step. And it might be just drop everything for 6 months. That might be what your intuition is telling you. It might be.
That's what I've done.
And then we don't want to do that as mothers. We're like, no, I've got all this stuff to do. But then you see, like, that's actually where that opens your heart again, and that's where your truth comes, and that's when the flow happens. And like,
my phone's going flat. I'm just going to plug it in.
I'll go for it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's challenging when our intuition tells us stuff that we don't want to do, like just chill for a day. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
yeah. Well, I've just he was I pretty much just done that now. That's why I was sitting on the couch, and I happened to spot you on there. I thought I'll just have a look, because I was just like, oh, put the decorations up, the house is a freaking mess. He's crying on the couch, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit down and do that. And and have a look on here and see how it goes. So,
what are you wanting to create at the moment? What are you feeling like? What's the big vision?
I just want some peace and harmony in the household itself, really.
And what's actually happening? What's the reality?
The reality is postnatal depression. So
say again.
I seek help with that. So I've just started antidepressants for a short period, just to try and put those excess emotions in check and get my head sorted back out again. So,
do you want to just really, do you want to just quickly tune in, and we can see like what your next obvious steps are, like in just because you've told me 2 things there. You've told me what the vision is, what you're wanting to create, and you told me the current reality. So that's like a great structure to like extrapolate and find out what your next obvious steps are. And then if you're willing to take them, like, let me know what happens in the next week. Do you mind if I tune in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So in the vision of what you're wanting to create, what I'm sensing is what I'm seeing of the vision is that you are really like the matriarch of the family, and you're in a really calm, centered space, and the whole of the house like moves around you, and it's like there's a lot of nature. It's very harmonic. Like it's like you're directing the flow, but your energy is not in the pushing of the flow. There's like a lot of it, like it's just kind of like it's not even a light touch. It's just there's a control, like you have a control over it, but it's like happening of its own accord because your energy in this picture is like it's really centered. Like you are bang in your center. Like you're just like very grounded, very calm, very peaceful, but also like assertive, acknowledging like your truth, acknowledging your power, acknowledging your gifts, and you're using them to create this harmony in the field. So that's the vision. So that's what you said. Just let that go, and then I'm just going to quickly tune into your current reality, and then we'll tune into your next steps. So current reality is so what I'm seeing is things are a bit grey, like things are a bit bland and like really lost and very mechanical, very like I feel like your body's really depleted. Feel like you're not like really engaging your imagination. There's, like it's just like one step after the other, and like almost like I'm reading a book and this is telling me what to do next. It's not like it's not a full like expression of you and the way that you're like deeply wanting to be in this whole experience. And there's like external influences that are potentially family, partners, children, like that are kind of like you're giving your energy to, you're giving your power to, like you're assigning like this person knows more than I know. So then there's like this depletion of that, like that sun that is the heart of like your wisdom of what it means to be at the center of a family, the hearth, the mother of a family. So that's what I'm sensing is like so you're not in your like magician, you're not in your like that beautiful like shamanic with that place. Yeah. So
I've got a lot of one of the main reasons I moved over here was because to be closer to family. And I don't know if my expectations are way too high, but you pretty much have to make it to see any of them. And then I also see all mothers within the family with their children succeeding and doing so well, and I'm struggling with that, and it's really I feel guilty. I feel like I haven't done enough. And I thought, even though I try to structure and get back and keep the ground and try and keep the meditating and get the messages, but when I'm hearing when I'm intuitively getting the messages, I can't hear them. I can't actually pinpoint they're not.
Well, I think they just seem overwhelming. So let's jump back. So let's do this together. This last step, we're gonna jump back into the vision of like you being at the center of your family. There's that really like this world is like very colorful. You're really powerful, but you're not controlling. You're very just like in your own knowing and in your own power and like fully connected to your heart, grounded into the earth. I feel like there's this real sort of like musical world around you. And so I want you to step back into that vision, like really own that vision. And we're going to look at the current reality, and then we're going to see what the next steps are. And whatever these next steps are, I want you to promise to take them over the next week, and then message me in a week and tell me what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
So step into that vision that we saw, like of what you're actually wanting to create as a mother. There's this real like earth vibe. You're like the hearth of the household. You're really in your power. You really have your authority, and the household is just moving around you in a very like organized, beautiful, harmonic, organic way. and everyone in the house, I feel like everyone in the house is really in there, like they're so inspired by you being in your genius and living your power that they're all doing the same thing. So that's the vision. Really step into that as if it has been created. Like, know that this is a possibility and we're seeing it because it's available for you. It's not just a pipe dream. It's actually, you have the capacity to create it, and it is your blueprint. So really stepping into that and owning that. And we're going to look to the left of you, and on a geographically different space, we're going to see what's happening in your world right now, that current reality of where you're feeling quite isolated, alone, withdrawn, like that people are kind of taking your power away from you. And all of these conditions that seem like so real for why you can't be in this powerful place. And we're just going to ask the question, like, how did I get from where I am in this end vision from that place there? And you'll notice that there's a gap between here and there. And we call this the bridge. And just going to allow that wisdom to arise while you're occupying the space of your vision, and just see what comes up. See what your next obvious steps are. Whatever you get, what's the first thing you get? What did you see?
Owning who I am, and owning my power, and speaking about it, and not being afraid of it. And
Yeah,
to make time for myself.
that's exactly what I got. Schedule time for you. That's exactly what I got. Was like, really make space every single day. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes, an hour, but the energy of you reclaiming your time and reclaiming your space and going, this is just for me, and this is just for me to reconnect to my truth. This is just for me to reconnect to who I really am. That's what I got. That's what I got your next obvious steps are. And that's, I mean, obviously that makes sense. And the thing is that we know what the next obvious steps are, but do we do them? Like, do we follow through? And that's where the magic is. And that's when life really changes, is when you actually follow through. Like, this is the instruction that this is like what you tapped into then, was the part of you that can climb like above the maze and see the way through.
Yeah.
And that's the instruction that it gave you. That's what was obvious.
Yeah.
So that's like, this is exactly what I'm talking about on this live, is the next steps will come from you doing that, from you following through with those action steps. And if you don't, then we'll go back down into the maze.
Yeah. So I've been constantly getting these messages, and then I keep putting them off because I've got too much to do, or I've got to get the kids to school, or I've got to go and pick somebody up, or the house needs.
That's right.
Cooking.
Yeah. So this is just about prioritizing you and your intuition. That's why you came on today.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got a strong connection to Isis. My goal for today for myself was just try and connect with her and get crystals out.
Amazing. Darling, I have to go because I was going to do like a really quick live, but I'm so glad that you jumped on. Thank you for like being a living example of this work, and yeah, just being so open and sharing your story and what's happening. And please do let me know how you go in a week. Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for having the courage to come on. Like, fair play.
I seen you, and then I seen the little, do you want to join? And I just instinctively pressed.
So you followed the next obvious step, and then you got even the next obvious step. This is like intuition in action.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm so happy that it's really nice to see you. And yeah, for anyone else who's interested in this kind of work, just send me a message. And yeah, if you have any questions, for sure, reach out. I also have a Facebook group where I'll be sharing this kind of info in that you can join. That's called Fully Expressed and Thriving. So let me know. And thank you.
See you later.
Bye, darling. Bye.